Well, hello again all my loyal YouTubers and subscribers, and welcome back as we explore more of those classic dirt bikes from the golden years of motocross. Now in this featured clip we are going to look at another Eastern European machine from the CZ factory. Now this particular bike is not a totally original machine from that year, but nevertheless it is still a nice example of a 1968 250 CZ Sidepiper. Now this featured machine is another one of the very nice bikes from a private motocross bike collection. Now you may remember this same private collector showed us that very nice 1992 CZ125 that I featured earlier on my YouTube channel. Now this featured bike has not seen much in the way of track action and has been locked away in storage for many years. Now these video clips and some photos were taken just soon after the bike was wheeled out into the daylight for the first time in as many years. Now our featured machine is of course a 1968 CZ250 Sidepiper, and these bikes were extremely popular and very quick machines back in the heydays of the 1960s. Now when you consider at that time you had the likes of East German Paul Friedrichs, who was a CZ watch rider at the time, and he had won 3 consecutive 500cc World Championships on a similar bike to this in 1966. Now although our example is a very nice machine from 1968, it is by no means an original machine from that year, and as you can see the kickstart and gear shifter on our particular bike has been changed, although our machine's still sporting its original Jikov carburetor for this particular bike. Now it's quite unusual for an older bike to still have this Jikov carburetor, because these were prone to flooding, and many owners tended to chuck these away and fit a more modern, efficient Japanese equivalent carburetor. And so in that respect it is still good to see that our particular engine is still sporting its old CZ Czechoslovakian part. Of course it's not hard to see where this particular bike gets its title from, with this lovely wrap round CZ side pipe exhaust. Now although this is the original silencer on this bike, this would have been originally chrome if my memory serves me correctly in 1968, but our exhaust still has its original heat shield bolted onto the side there. Certainly a more practical place to put an exhaust pipe rather than the old CZ twin ports, which of course used to hang underneath either side of the chassis. Now our bike appears to still have its original forks and CZ brake hubs, and of course these alloy wheels, which all look period correct as well, from 1968. Now almost definitely these rear shocks are not the original items, although to be fair, all manner of rear suspension units were changed on these bikes, and virtually none of the surviving Sidepipers now have their original rear shocks fitted. So it's not unusual that our particular bike doesn't have its original shocks from back in the day. Now the fuel tanks on these bikes were of course made of steel as that was the material of choice in the late 1960s, especially when it came to building motocross machines. Although the paintwork on our featured bike does look very fresh, so it's more than likely that our tank has been repainted at some time. And of course everything else in the rear sprocket and rear hub department looks fine on our bike, and as you can see, a bit of corrosion setting in with the bike being lying about for many years. Now these are not the original handlebars and grips on this bike, and these 1968 bikes were certainly not fitted with a kill switch for the motor, although this kill switch is a mandatory requirement if you want to race your classic dirt bikes here in Scotland. Although our feature bike of course still has many original items still fitted, including these footrests and that rear brake pedal. Now the seat on this bike appears to be once again period correct for our bike, and these 68 model seats were among one of the most comfortable places to place your backside on if you were racing motocross machines back in the day. And of course when it comes to the front and rear mud guards, the chances are that these are not again standard fitments for our 68 bike, and it looks like these mud guards were replaced at one time in the bike's life with these plastic imitations. Now of course if you were lucky enough to buy one of these CZ models in 1968, they also came supplied with their own spares kit. Now many unscrupulous dealers at the time didn't hand these spares kits over to their customers, but instead placed them on their parts shelves. Now of course back in the day there were many famous riders who raced these CZ Sidepipers, and you had the likes of Joel Robert, Roger DeCosta, Dave Bickers, and the likes of Tony DeStefano, and of course the American legend Brad Lackey. But unfortunately for them though, CZ technology languished under communism, and CZ then withdrew from motocross competition at the end of the 1983 season. Although today CZ factories manufacture gearboxes for Skoda cars, and are still manufacturing weapons. Nevertheless, although this machine is not a standard bike from back in the day, it is yet another little motocross gem from what was a vintage year for off-road racing. Now, contrary to what you might think, we did actually attempt to get the bike fired up, but the many years of sitting around in a dusty workshop appear to have taken their toll, and the little Sidepiper just flatly refused to spark into life. But of course there will be ample opportunity for all my YouTube subscribers to see more example of motocross history here on my channel by simply hitting that subscribe button on the bottom right of your screen. Once again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you soon. This video was brought to you in association with WorldSport, the world's #1 supplier for all your off-road and leisure sportswear. Just visit their online website for more details.